6-3-39 to one straight. Closing out on this first quarter. Dockers need a late goal if they can get one, but Callaway here, of course, with a number of Tigers had the head shaved during the
nasty head, isn't it?
Had it shaved for a cause of cancer cure promotion. Ball off half-back. Howden's kick to the wing. All over the top. Fiora takes it from Hilton. Zilla just won't quite get there in time. Good strong work by Shane Parker.
Well done.
Backed his own judgment, and Carr sees it safely over.
He took them on Parker. He realised he was going to run into one or two targeted defenders or defenders at the particular stage of play, but
and that's a bit of the vigour that they need to.
Yeah, with the ball in
display.
front of him, he just he put the head down. He kept his pace up. He burst through a couple of tackles. Did very, very well.
Don't forget, for constant updates on the Ansett Cup, i7sport.com.au. And also everything else that's happening in sport.
And Cook's gone off the ground there, Hutto. You can see Waterhouse has come on to replace him to add some bite in the forward line.
Craig Hutchison down on the boundary line. Sound like he's in a tunnel down there. Longmuir clearing it to the wing. And it's over and out.
It's an interesting move to take Cook off. One of their prime moves in the middle to bring Waterhouse on, who's obviously a designated forward, but they are getting beaten soundly in the middle at the moment, Fremantle. They certainly need to do something to try and turn the tide in the midfield.
Well, he's the type of player that can spark them a bit too, isn't he, around the ground, Waterhouse. Knights. Another chance for the Tigers. Tivendale. Campbell doubling back, but it'll get through. Ottens again. Can you believe that?
Now, the reason why Brad Ottens marked that ball and Daniel Bandy was probably 7 or 8 metres away from him is that he wasn't tracking the ball. Ottens had pushed forward and Bandy was keeping an eye on him, but what he didn't do was watch the ball coming in. You can just see, look, you can't even see Bandy in the picture. He's got his back to the ball. He's just following the path that Ottens is running. And if you don't track the ball, you can get caught out pretty soundly sometimes, just like that occasion. And we've got Brad Ottens lining up for his 4th.
There seems to be plenty of space in the Richmond forward line at the moment, but the way they're bringing the ball in, they just kick into the fat side every time. There's just plenty of space there for them to run into.
So Ottens lining up. And another one on the board. 7 for Richmond. 7-3-45 to one straight 6, and Brad Ottens, well, between he and Hilton, they have just destroyed them up forward.
Well, 8 marks inside 50, and 6 of them have resulted in goals. So that is outstanding forward work.
Well, it's quite surprising. We've seen Daniel Bandy used as a key defender on a number of occasions. He's mobile enough to play as a centre-half back or a key defender, but at the moment, Brad Ottens is just losing him in general play, pushing forward and doing it very, very well. But it's not just the goals that the Tigers are kicking, it's the fact that they've restricted Freo to only the 1 scoring shot that's very good for their percentage.
4 goals for Brad Ottens, 2 for Rory Hilton. Helped them reach 7 goals on quarter time and really put them in contention for the Ansett Cup semi-finals. Fiora again streaming forward the Richmond players. This time the disposal into it not so good. And Daffy takes it over, away from Jones, over the line. Well, I don't think even in Danny Frawley's wildest hopes, 39 points would have been the margin at quarter time. Even if they just maintain something along this line, it's going to give them a decent chance of making the semi-finals.
Well, we spoke about percentage earlier, and the best way to change a percentage is not necessarily by kicking a big score, but it's by adding to your score while restricting the score against you. And at this stage, they're doing a wonderful job, the Tigers.
Daffy off the ground. Campbell, that was very clever. And again, Richmond players leading into space. This time no one stand out. He just goes straight to Ottens instead. Oh. Well, he could very well have had his 5th goal of the quarter. There's a free kick for a trip.
See, that's lucky. He slipped over again, Daniel Bandy, just at the point of contact with Brad Ottens, and nearly cost him another mark and goal.
Parker's kick. The feed out of defence.
Oh,
Dodd up to centre half forward. Waterhouse into play. Strong at the footy, but didn't take the mark. And again, the Tiger defence. Callaway takes it back, flicks it out wide. Zilla through the middle to centre half forward. Ottens has got 3 to beat. Couldn't that time. Just outnumbered on that occasion. And the Dockers with a chance to build a late attack here. Walker carrying it up to the wing. Waterhouse is in front, in good position to take this mark, and just couldn't complete it. Zilla's done some nice things since he's come on. Siren ends it. Just as Mark Chaffee, another man who had the head shave during the week, was about to take his kick. What a quarter by Richmond. What a quarter by Brad Ottens. 4 goals, and Rory Hilton 2. Outstanding performance by the Tigers. Wayne Campbell's report, the only downside. And we'll talk more about that, one thinks, at half-time or maybe even after the break. Damien Drum has got a lot to 1 goal straight, 6. And Jason Dunstall and Todd Viney, a dream start for Danny Frawley in the Tigers' unlikely bid, or what appeared to be a somewhat unlikely bid to make the semi-finals.
It is. Look, we've spoken about the midfield a couple of times. It's not just the midfield. We know how good the Knights and the Campbells and the Dappies are in the centre square, but it's the peripheral players, the ones that are coming in from half-back and wing off the square, that are just pouncing on the loose ball. They're getting numbers back whenever the ball's in midfield and just running with Gay Bandit into the forward line. Every time a Tiger player that has the ball looks up, he's got 3 or 4 options to pick from, and that just gives you great confidence as they're heading towards goals. And gee, Brad Ottens, hasn't he played a quarter? Look at the marks, 15 to 5 in the mark.
And what about inside 50? 18 to 6. So that is absolute dominance of a game. But I think if I was the Fremantle coach, I'd be telling the guys to just sort of start to tighten up a little bit on their players. At the moment, they've just been trying to play their own game. The ball's been bouncing out, going to the Richmond players at will. So just sort of tighten up, get back into the game, and then start trying to back yourself.
Well, you would know, Todd, as being a midfielder, that there are times where you've got to just tighten up and pick up your man.
Let's go down to Craig Hutchison. He's down there with Chris Waterman.
Chris, not the start you needed, particularly with Ottens. What do you do now to control that?
Pick up 1 each. I mean, their midfield's running real hard, and obviously Hall and Ottens are changing through the ruck, centre forward, so I think the boys just have to be more accountable.
Will you stick with Bandy?
Well, he's not really getting into the game too much, so we've got to run with him a bit. We'll give him a chance in the ruck, but between the 2 big guys, as I said, they've really got to just pick up 1 each.
And before we let you go, will we see some different personnel in the midfield this quarter?
Well, I mean, the boys were pretty stagnant. I mean, they outran us. I mean, Hilton was very good when they're trying to close the belly out, so we just need a bit more run and we'll be okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Craig Hutchison with Chris Waterman from the Fremantle Dockers.
He made a good point, Todd. Look, they'll give their midfielders time, but when you look at the midfielders for Freo, the Cooks and the Fletchers and the Hazelbys, they're good players in their own right, and the tendency is to try and follow the ball and get yourself into it. But there are times, even if you're the premier on ball in the competition, that you have to say, well, I'm not getting it, my opponent is, so I'll go and play him on his merits at the moment rather than just following the ball.
No, you're spot on, Jason. They just, for whatever reason, haven't got the ball, so they're just going to have to tighten up, cut their bloke out, and then try and win it.
Second quarter from off this oval. Richmond with a very bold bid to try and make the Ansett Cup semi-finals. No doubt that Damien Drum would have had some pretty strong words, and Peter Bell also would be very keen to try and at least be competitive in this quarter.
He was quiet in the first, only a couple of touches, a kick and a handball for Peter Bell, so he'll be looking to assert his influence on this second quarter.
Black, the number 1 possession getter for the Dockers in the first quarter with 7 possessions. Chance here, Norwich. Outnumbered, just shoved off the ball in the end by Bowden. Hilton taking it. Chaffee across the ground. Modra just worried out of it there by Gaspar. They go again. Gaspar, no one in support. He threw that out over the line. And they were very, very lucky.
I've got to tell you, when Mark Chaffee squared it up across goal, I thought, look, it's always good to change direction, but you need someone to kick to, and he didn't have anybody.
I wasn't sure
he didn't find the boundary either.
If you were groaning at his kick or his haircut, actually.
They were both terrible.
Chaffee gets a clearing kick this time. Cook was in good position to mark, couldn't complete it. Carr, well, he was pretty clever in the end to get out of all that. It's a long log jam up at full forward. Longmuir. And a ball up, 30 out.
It's the cast of thousands at the moment inside 50 for the Fremantle Dockers. They're going to have to try and open that out.
That is a stark contrast, isn't it, to what we saw in the first quarter from Richmond when they went to attack. The hands from Fletcher were pretty good, but Bell gang tackled. This Richmond side just, well, they got the momentum, haven't they, when you're playing well. Not too hard to be enthusiastic and jump in and apply the tackles and do all the team things.
Interesting that Tony Modder has come up and he's virtually playing like a midfielder at the ball up, just trying to lose his opponent in Darren Gasper. Good way to get a little bit of freedom.
Paul takes the kick. Long near the infringer. Clinton King. Alton's the target here. It wasn't a good kick, though, dropping short. And Daniel Shell well up the ground, taking the mark. But again, it's a very crowded centre-half forward area for Fremantle. Waterhouse with some presence was up. Good, strong grab, laying it on Cook. Will he run straight for goal? No, he's sort of halfway in between. He just blazed it into the pocket. He'll be very disappointed with that. Just his judgment in where to kick.
It's a great effort by Waterhouse to mark that ball, though.
It was. I guess it gives him some encouragement. As Dragicevic takes the mark from half-back. Alton's again the target up on the wing. Alton's, what a strong mark from Brad.
The game he's playing at the moment.
He's hot.
He is really threatening to tear this apart. It's a very open Richmond forward line. One-on-one.
Super mark.
Bound and paid the
Super mark. He was under intense pressure from Jason Norris there, but he just used his body to hold his opponent at bay, and look at the firm hands and that. But you mentioned Brad Ottens, he's hot. When a player gets like that, the best thing you do is just keep kicking in his direction, because more often than not he's going to get it, and he is just playing one heck of a game at the moment, Brad Ottens.
Well, there's not an extraordinary number of people here to watch this match, not an extraordinary number of Tiger fans, but they would wish they were here, because there's been some great signs for them so far. Joel Bowden converts that one from 40, and that's number 8 for the Tigers.
For years, animals have been trying to tell us something.
Hey, honey.
And now they can. Tonight,
Don't fix me. I won't look at another female Yo, baby.
Eddie Murphy has heard the call of the wild.
I'm cute, I'm furry, and I make 500 babies a year. Get back in your cage.
For the first time.
I'd like to go in manually.
What's he saying?
You don't want to know.
Hello. Do a little dance. Make a little love. Stop talking to me. Get down tonight.
The smash hit Dr. Dolittle, 8:30 tonight.
So 8-3 to 1 straight, and again Hilton involved. Campbell. A desperate dive down there from Dragicevic, just couldn't take it. Dockers' defence, well, understandably rattled at the moment.
They've got the message of the Tigers, Todd. I mean, from a player's point of view, and look, far be it from us to speak for the players, but you would much rather play Ansett Cup games than practice games, wouldn't you? It is the ideal preparation. All of a sudden, the Tigers realise they're a real chance of playing in the semi-finals here.
Oh, well, there's nothing worse than perhaps losing this one, Jason, than having to play in the country 2.5 hours on the bus.
Not that there's anything wrong with the country, Todd. The wonderful people, Victorian country, that love to come out and watch those games.
If only we had cameras in the box. Clinton King, centering King. Hazelby does well to chop it off. Hilton couldn't break the tackle. Ottens. Anthony Jones wraps it all up. And so Richmond again threatening. The Dockers have pushed some numbers back, but still plenty of Tigers. Off the right boot, Bowden. Don't tell me he's kicked the goal off the right. Oh, they can do absolutely nothing wrong.
Up to 70,000 thoughts every day. Eyes which can differentiate between 10 million different colors. Hearing that detects frequencies between 20 and 20,000 hertz. And 656 muscles, 17 of which are moving when he smiles. When we develop digital technology, we know who it's for. LG, life's good.
Now, Damien Drum must feel a bit helpless at the moment. 9-3 to 1 straight. And we're only very early in the second quarter. And I guess that's probably the best thing for the Dockers. It gives them time to try and regroup. Waterhouse, high one. Shell flew, couldn't take it. Good clearing kick. Tigers out of trouble. Chaffee's kick. Callaway towards the boundary line. Daffy, Norwich, and it's out.
They just have the numbers at the moment, the Tigers. They have the discipline to get the numbers to the ball. Whenever there's a loose ball on the ground, they've got 3, 4, 5 players running to either assist in the contest or be used as an option, and they're outnumbering the Dockers at every contest at the moment.
Longmuir and Hall. Well done, Longmuir, but didn't have the support he needed. Bell had it stolen back off him. Tippendale. Hilton looking for the option and found the outlet in Campbell. Chaffee. Players running everywhere for Richmond. Chaffee, long kick. Watch Ottens. Actually didn't get to the contest then. Perhaps could have. Doesn't matter for Richmond. Does not matter. They just keep kicking goals. Hilton's got his third.
This is the training field at the moment. They are just running through the lines as you would on any Tuesday or Thursday night down on the training track. And that was simple. Matthew Knight's the time that he had at half forward to weigh up the options. We saw the long kick coming in from Chaffee. And as every good on-baller would be, presenting himself front and square. Look at the time. He just weighs up the right option. Had a couple of them there. We found the one that was moving at full pace. That was Rory Hilton. And he kicks his third in between Hilton and Ottens. The rest of them can go home because they are trashing Freo at the moment.
Well, there's a lot of dirty Hawthorn and Melbourne supporters, not just coaching staff and players that are probably somehow getting the score through to them over at Colonial if they're not watching. Going to change the nature of that game.
Well, you do calculations, Hutto. I mean, Melbourne and Hawthorn will know what they have to do at the end of this game. And at the moment, it's going to be a lot.
It's going to be enormous.
Just look at the forward line here for Fremantle. How are they going to try and score a goal with so many players back there? It's just enormous.
This is Roger Hayden, number 43. Shell.
Gee, that was a good pass because it looked like, well, I would have said that got tipped off hands, and I think they're all appealing Richmond at the moment that the ball was tipped in flight, but gee, it was a needle-eye opening that he had to thread that pass into, and he did it particularly well. He looks good. Shell, this young fella, looks like very mobile.
Callaway certainly claiming that he touched it.
I better be careful, the Tiger players, because we know that the umpires are touchy about abuse. They will pay a 50, but when you look at them with that shaved head, it's all the more encouraging to pay 50 against them.
Well, not even at the halfway stage of the second quarter. And Fremantle have got their second goal on the board.
Oh, much.
At Bunnings Warehouse, we have the lowest home improvement prices every day, which means you can afford to buy more. Like 2.7 litre feed and wheat, $6.30. Quell smoke alarms, 2 for $18. Rechargeable spotlight, $29.95. 4 litre Dulux wash and wear 101, $49.80. 450ml leaf and grass rake, $2.77. If you happen to find a cheaper price on a stocked item, we'll beat it by 10%.
Bunnings Warehouse.
Lowest prices are just the beginning.
10-3 to 2 straight. Daffy just, well, missed the first target, but such is the way the Tigers are running in numbers and backing up. Bowden took it, Ottens. No, couldn't take it this time. He's got to lift his game. Campbell back to Daffy. And Dragicevic this time. Fiora calls for a 30 out from goal, but Dragicevic will probably be instructed here. It is being instructed to go back and have a shot.
And that was just clinical, the way they moved the ball forward there. We just saw Fremantle. They had to work long and hard to get the ball into their forward line and then convert a goal. And then a clear possession out of the middle. And it was Bowden that came in off the edge of the square that got the kick forward. And now Dragicevic kicks for goal and a blemish.
Which was rather quicker handballs from Wayne Campbell too in that build-up, wasn't it?
He's thriving on the captaincy, isn't he? Absolutely thriving.
10-4. The 2 straight. Parker. Usually when a team's getting beaten, symptomatic as that is the difficulty to get the ball back in from kick-ins, isn't it? But this time they get it away. Okay. Hayden just couldn't trap it. Gets good support. Pavlitz's doing the shepherding and running past is Walker. Fletcher. Again, it's just a little haphazard the way they're trying to move it forward. The pressure from the Tigers showing. Bowden didn't try and mark Waterhouse. Now Richmond with open space ahead of them. Rogers. had Hilton to his right, but he goes longer into the pocket again. The space in front of the leading forward. Fiora takes the mark, and it's just too easy, unfortunately.
Now, I'm not 100% sure that kick was intended for him, Todd. That was a mongrel, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but you could probably take your choice who you're kicking it to, because they had that many numbers screaming into the forward line. But that was just a classic bit of play there. The difference between the two teams at the moment. Fremantle couldn't hit a hand pass. The ball was hit in the ground. Then Richmond moved the ball so quickly, so cleanly, and all of a sudden there's another goal.
This big fat liar put their client behind bars.
You want to have me declared incompetent to stand appeal?
What if the injustice is driving him mad?
You've got to get him out of prison.
Monday, you're invited to an ambush.
And I'll be glad to accommodate you.
It's no place for wimps.
The defense objects to the court acting out of ego.
And the big fat liar stands to outmaneuver them all.
Excuse me?
A stunning move in the practice. 9:30 Monday.
Fiora's goal taking Richmond to 11-4 to 2 straight. Good work, Hazelby, with Fletcher. Well flighted the handball. Cook had the fumbles. We'll get a free. Clinton King slipping over. Advantage paid. Carr took it. Pavlich couldn't. Bowden. Rogers. Parker well up the ground. On the mark. Rogers kicking quickly. Ottens. Bandy in his wake again. Let's hope Ottens goes back and has a shot from here. Fremantle have flooded a lot back. He goes for a pass. Well, they didn't cover all the options. Callaway much closer to goal.
That's poor. They're at 6s and 7s at the moment. The Dockers, they're all looking around wondering who was taking responsibility for Callaway drifting into the forward line. And I can tell you there weren't too many that were putting their hands up saying, sorry, that was my fault. But that's inexcusable because Ottens just leaned back, casual as you like, and chipped it over the top. He had all the time in the world to find Callaway.
Zilla coming back onto the ground for Richmond. Meantime, Callaway trying to kick their 12th. Maybe Ottens would have been better to have a
Kicked
shot.
it like a backman, didn't he?
Parker. The Dockers try and get something going on this members' side. Bell's kick wasn't great. Bandy. Ottens showing that he can do the harder work as well as the flashy marks. Cameron never rushes. And that time, though, the result wasn't great. Hazelby also didn't want to rush because he had nobody to help out. Bandy. Just the lack of options for the Fremantle players. Lack of good options anyway. Apparent. Steinford's kick. Parker made the spoil. Ottens dragged it under and had to get rid of it quickly. That was a little more promising. Parker takes the Bell handball, but his kick was shocking. Rogers off the left, deep into the pocket. Dragicevic let his teammate Tivendale, who I thought was just about off, come in and take the mark.
I think he was more than just about off there. He was running into an open goal, but gee, the skill of the Dockers there, they're putting themselves under pressure. There's nothing wrong with a quick long kick to a defensive part of the ground out wide, but they kept handballing back in the corridor, putting themselves under pressure.
Tivendale just caressing the ball right through the middle. Number 12.
For $2.50, you can get half an umbrella or half an hour to the US, UK, New Zealand, Ireland, and Canada as a pre-selected Smart Chat customer.
AAPT, Smart Chat,
This telecast has been made possible by the support of TAC. If you drink then drive, you're a bloody idiot.
Hey!
Not surprisingly, Damien Drum has hit the phone.
Gee, the bloke on the other end would have a sore ear, wouldn't he, at this stage?
Might be hitting a few other things before the afternoon's out.
Oh.
Rogers. Well, the only other blokes that wouldn't be enjoying this for Richmond are the blokes that are on the bench, because they'd be just desperate to get out there and be part of it. Daffy to line up. There they are.
You know, even for Daffy drifting in the forward line there's no accountability as far as the Dockers are concerned at this stage, because Rogers was held up for a decent amount of time. They were entitled to man up all the loose Tiger forwards.
Daffy just checking where the mark is.
There's no problem with doing that either. I mean, that's something that a lot of players don't do. They find themselves too close to the man on the mark and they end up having to kick the ball straight up. If you're going to run into the bloke on the mark, pull up and go back.
It's like going through with a golf swing, isn't it? When you shouldn't. That's a good kick. Just on the line. Was it touch? No, another one to Richmond. This is unbelievable. 13 goals to 2. We thought the first quarter was a thrashing, but this looks like it could be worse.
Well, just they've got to try and batten down the hatches in some way. We've talked about perhaps trying some new players in the midfield. Wouldn't be a bad start, but the players have just got to take ownership of this. There's nothing that the coach can do about this. The players have to go, well, he's my man. He's not getting another kick for the rest of the quarter, but at the moment, there's no responsibility there whatsoever.
Yeah, most teams do that. When the opposition gets a run on, the call is man up. Play them hard, play it tight.
Just wondering how long this can go on for. Can it go on for a whole match?
You'd hope not.
Hazelby. Oh, that's a good mark. Shell again.
He's got some skill, this fellow. He really has.
He played just 4 matches last year. 20-year-old.
Good size of a fellow. He just leant in on David Burke. Burke trying to claim that he actually touched the ball, but yeah, good body work.
So they kicked 1 goal in each of the quarters so far. Still 4.5 minutes in this quarter. And the potential for the amount of damage that Richmond can do is quite frightening in this match, but it does give Fremantle time. They need to be accurate for their kicks at goal, and Shell has done it.
Well, that's a good answer. Try and slow down the momentum that the Richmond team have got. Now, we often see games swing wildly, but I'm not suggesting for a minute that Fremantle are going to turn it around. But the momentum of a game can swing around, and this is the way to try and slow it down by kicking a few goals. Try and get the ball out of the centre break here. Try and get the ball down to the forward line and try and get another one before the break.
They're operating at 100%. I mean, they've kicked 3 straight goals, but the forwards are just getting starved of opportunities. It's 18 scoring shots to 3. I mean, that's just murder.
You've got to admire Todd, though. He tipped Fremantle before the game, and he's sticking with them. He's giving them a chance.
Well, I did not.
Out of the middle. Hilton, look at this from the side. Biniscombe, well wrapped up. And the ball up the result. 83 to 18. And we're not even half-time in an Ansett Cup match.
Has been some change in the midfield. Hutto, as we look at the Richmond bench, but on the Fremantle bench, Fletcher has come off the ground, and so too has Walker.
Craig Hutchison down the boundary. Parker. Well tackled by Dragicevic, but he did pretty well. McManus on the ground now, and he's got an opening at last as they're able to switch play. Big Easto back on the ground. Didn't have a great start to the game, but on reflection, maybe he should have stayed out there longer. Then again, maybe not. McManus, free kick. It's going Richmond's way.
The skill errors are killing him at the moment. I mean, McManus really should have hit Easto out on the wing there. He chipped the ball to space. When you've got a big fella there, the last thing you want him doing is chasing the ball on the ground.
Bowden, Bandy to come over the top of Altons. He's given away. No, he's going to take a free against Altons. Pained look there from Wayne Campbell. Bandy again goes looking for Easto. And again, he didn't have much in support. You see young Paddy Steinford for Richmond. Play going on. Bootsma on the ground now for Fremantle. So Damien Drummer certainly swung some changes in terms of getting personnel, and you expect nothing less at this stage. Cameron had Knights in short. He wanted a longer option. Went to centre-half forward, Rogers. Good work from Parker. Heath Black rode the bump well. Parker. Bootsma again. Now, this looks better, more promising. Hazelby through the wing. Can go long to Shell. She went a long way, Hazelby. Good kick, though. Shell in excellent position to mark, but Burke pushed back hard.
Well done by David Burke there to try and spoil that. Didn't give him any room. Plays pretty tight. Well done, pushed back hard, got his hand to it, pushed it over the line.
So just over 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Bitterscombe and Gasper, missed the lot. Eastor's handball went nowhere. It's over and out. Eastor recruited primarily because of the injury to Clem Michael. Richmond and the Swan Districts in a
interesting score.
Yeah. Nice to have a night series or Ansett Cup series match.
So it might have been called is it the Escort Cup back then?
Either that or the Sterling Cup, one of them. And that was the night that John Todd was the coach of Swan Districts. He didn't bring across his full side because he was annoyed they'd rescheduled the match a couple of times. He wanted it in Perth, and he bought a... Michael Roach kicked 10 goals, I think, from 10 kicks.
That's right. That's one way to make a protest.
Yeah.
Come over and get beaten by 190 points.
Started on the bench too, Roach, that night, Hutto.
Yeah, he did. Chappie kicked long. Ottens takes the mark. We saw him lay it off last time from this position. He is a thumping kick at best.
He's got the open square at the moment, which is why he's
just sets it up.
Hurry to move it on.
And that's good defensive work from Anthony Jones. Tigers fans annoyed that it's only a behind and not another goal.
Matthew Knights has been good. He's only had 2 kicks, but he's had 6 handballs, and probably 6 of the best, actually. Giving away 3 goals.
84 to 19, a minute and a half left. Jones for Fremantle. Dodd.
That was close to out in the full third. But chipping sideways, I mean, particularly from down back, it just gives the Tigers time to fall back and form a defensive wall.
Parker, McManus in close, but he goes out wide instead. Dodd had to go back to Parker. Now at centre-half, plenty of Tigers there. Hilton in good position. There's a bit of shepherding off the ball then. Could have been a free to Waterhouse, not seen. Cameron beating the handball. Daffy through the middle. Loose players everywhere. Rogers to his left. Ottens pushing back in the square. Daffy wants to join in the party. And in the end, he just wasn't really sure what to do, was he?
Well, it's a problem for Freo. They chipped the ball sideways a couple of times, and all the Tigers did was flood back to half-back, and when the ball did eventually get kicked long, they had the numbers, and then they ran it back through the midfield. They've got to move the ball a little bit quicker in general play, the Dockers.
Lutzmer out of defence. A more positive kick. Mills just on the ground, couldn't take it. Carr, and good delivery to Shell. So he'll get one more kick at goal before half-time and maybe give them something positive to take in to the break.
He's been the one shining light from up forward, hasn't he, Shell?
He moves well for a tall fellow, doesn't he? Moves very, very well.
Pretty measured run-up, Jason. Were you like that kicking for goal, or did you just do it by feel? But most of the players these days will step it out, mark the spot, kick over it.
It's just a matter of having a routine that you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're comfortable with it.
Shell's kicked 2, and he hasn't kicked the 3rd by the look of that one. So, just what they didn't need going into the break. 3 goals to 20. A pretty miserable performance by the Fremantle Dockers, whichever way you look at it. Richmond must give them the credit, though. 13 goals, 7, 85. Phenomenal performance. 4 to Brad Ottens, 3 to Rory Hilton, 2 to Joel Bowden. And as we saw, just 2 goals to Daniel Shell. Great stuff by the Tigers. They're in good position now to make the semi-finals. Back with more in a moment.